Good morning, Bucknutters. It is Thursday, December 3rd, 2015. I am Dan Rubin. This is the Bucknuts Morning 5 and Change. Joined, as always, on Thursdays by Steve Wiltfong, Director of Recruiting for 24/7 Sports. How are you, Steve?
Good morning, Dan. Dan, I called in last Thursday, man, and waited on the line for like 20 minutes and then disappeared. I don't know. You took the day off for Thanksgiving or something, but I was ready to work. I was ready to do a show.
Give till it hurts. That is Steve Wiltfong's motto. As I look out the window here, this will be our first recent show where there's snow on the ground, and that's not a good thing. But Gem City love. Okay, let's get going here. Recruiting is hot and heavy. As everybody knows, once the season starts to wind down like it is now, recruiting becomes just a major thrust, so we've got the man on the line to deal with it. Two of the names we've dealt with for a long period of time, two Michiganders. I got to say, I've never felt great about either one, and it does appear now that, at least from my opinion, my vantage point, that we're out on both, but you can clarify if need be. Dalen Hayes and Donnie Corley.
Well, Dalen Hayes announces Monday, strong indications he's going to Notre Dame. Ohio State was home with Dalen Hayes today, Urban Meyer and Tony Offer, but that visit has been canceled. There's no reason for those two to go up and visit with Dalen if he's not going to attend Ohio State, and so I think that they got some clarity on the situation, and I think it was, it's just a deal where Dalen has his mind made up, so Ohio State, they're going to go recruit somebody else on this day.
How about Donnie Corley?
Oh, excuse me. Yeah, with Donnie Corley, he's supposed to announce on the 8th. That's been the plan for quite some time. That's his mom's birthday. Michigan State looks like the team to beat. Michigan, he did visit Michigan over Thanksgiving weekend and had Michigan in his house this week. I still feel good about the Spartans. Ohio State certainly was a major factor in this young man's recruitment and certainly gave him a lot to think about, but I think he's settled in on Michigan State right now. I suppose there's a chance he doesn't announce on the 8th, and if that's the case, he could take more visits. I know he's always wanted to use his visits, and for the most part has stuck to that, so we'll see. But, yeah, looks like Michigan State has really solidified themselves right now as the choice for Donnie Corley.
So we've talked about those guys enough that I felt we needed to address that. I'm not even going to bring their names up again because I just don't think there's any chance they're coming, barring unforeseen developments. And in terms of receiver, and we don't have to go into detail on this, if you're a Buckeye fan, shed no tears for the Buckeyes. In my opinion, the major development in recruiting over the next 2 years or so is going to be Ohio State's acquisition of receivers. They're going to be able to line up 3 or 4 6'3", 6'4" studs soon, and it's going to change the offense, spread the field deep-wise, so look forward to that. While we aren't going to talk about Mr. Corley, Mr. Hayes anymore, it does seem like the most interesting position in recruiting, quarterback, has come up again. Ohio State in the class of 2016 obviously has a commitment from Tristan Wallace out of Texas, but we hear now they are flirting or at least talking to Tylen Oden. Tylen, T-Y-L-I-N. I had to be clarified myself. Oden, like Greg, I think.
It is.
Quarterback out of Tennessee. Go into some detail on that and why you think they may be jumping in this late.
Well, I think if you read Bill Kurlick's article on Bucknuts last night, which I assume most of you did, it sounds like Tylen had a great conversation with Coach Beck about Ohio State's quarterback situation. J.T. Barrett will have 2 years of eligibility. After this year, Cardell Jones is gone. Torrance Gibson's now playing wide receiver, and I heard Torrance Gibson's going to be special at receiver, talking to people inside the Woody. And then you look at, Collier, he's not sure what he's going to do, and so Ohio State, may have to take another quarterback, and so Tylen Oden is one young man that has been reported about. I wouldn't be surprised if they're talking to more guys, though, behind the scenes, seeing if there's a flip out there or maybe revisiting an old name. And I'm just speculating here. I'm not saying I know for sure, but I wouldn't be surprised if it called Dwayne Haskins or or any number of guys that maybe they were in on early, or guys that they like on senior tape, just to see where their heads are at. If they're courting a quarterback, I can't imagine that they're courting just one. This is Ohio State here. They're going to take a swing at the best player they can get. And so Tylen's a good player, man, a dual threat guy that can definitely make some plays happen with his legs, and a guy that has some nice touch when he throws the football. He's developing physically, but a good player that would fit what Ohio State likes to do on offense.
I think the name you may have been referring to, obviously, Dwayne Haskins. Haskins was the number one quarterback on their board when this process started for 2016, and since committed to Maryland, his hometown team. He attends the Bullis School in Potomac, which is about 30 minutes away from Maryland. But obviously, there's been a change in coaching at Maryland. DJ Durkin is in. So that's definitely something we want to keep an eye on. We don't know if they'll get in touch, but getting back in with Haskins. Go ahead.
Haskins took an official visit to Florida over the weekend, so he wants to go. So the thing with Haskins has been he wants to go somewhere where he's got a chance to play as a true freshman. Ohio State was the early team to beat for him. He's not going to play as a true freshman at Ohio State, so I don't know where his head's at regarding that now, but Florida would be a place where he would have a shot to play as a true freshman when he took the official, and maybe still, they committed Felipe Franks, split him from LSU. Dwayne may be the better player right now. Felipe may have more upside, so perhaps Dwayne's still looking at Florida, and I'm sure there's some other schools that are trying to make a play on him, but Maryland is advantageous for him because he's got an opportunity to play as a true freshman. See what their offensive plan is. We know that DJ Durkin is going to be a strong defensive coach. He's going to be a good special teams guy, and he's going to be a good recruiter. We don't know what his offensive identity is going to be at Maryland, but working for guys like Urban Meyer and Jim Harbaugh, he's probably got a good pulse on it. Just never had an opportunity to put his touch on it.
Yeah, I had a chance to talk to Dwayne Haskins this summer. And when I asked him which schools were calling him the most, even though he'd already committed, Florida was the first name out of his mouth. So I think that's been a long time. I don't know about safety school, but I think that in the back of his mind, Haskins has always known Florida was an option. Speaking of options, it looks like the next big visit date for Ohio State is the 11th. What's the guest list looking like for that, you think?
Well, they got a bunch of their commits coming in. It'll be interesting to see what targets they can bring in around those guys right now. When you look at the Bucknuts visit list, it's loaded with the Ohio State commits. A lot of the guys that are enrolling early are set for that weekend as well, and then many of those guys will go and play in the U.S. Army All-America Bowl before arriving at Ohio State in January. But it looks like there's 9 commit official visitors in there. One guy to watch is Kareem Felder. Yeah, I think the new Maryland staff's really going to try and make a run at him. He committed to the Buckeyes out of Reisterstown, Maryland. A really long, good cornerback. I could see Maryland really pushing for him, so that'll be a good visit for him to get back to Ohio State on the 11th. Not that he has said anything about being a soft commit to Ohio State, but just putting that on your radar. I expect Maryland to really come after Kareem Felder.
Yeah, standard operating procedure. When there's a changeover, they're definitely going to make a call to the in-state guys. We all know Felder was not the most highly rated guy early in the process and was committed to Virginia Tech. But from what we hear inside the WAC, even since he committed there, very high on Kareem Felder. So I would not expect him to be let go without a fight. All right, Steve, looking at the college football scene on the whole, your number 1 and number 2 teams entering the season. Number 1, Ohio State. Number 2, Michigan State. Do you feel vindicated? Do you feel like you were off? What's your vibe going into the playoffs?
Just trying to be arrogant, I guess. Sticking to my guns. They may be the best 2 teams. Still may be. And, Michigan State got beat in Lincoln, playing 3 freshmen in the secondary. Wasn't a really good matchup for them. Still got beat on a bad call. They should still be undefeated. Ohio State loses to Michigan State by I forget the final. Was it 17-14? 17-14.
Correct.
They lead the whole game and then lose 17-14 to a great football team. Maybe they are the best two teams. You know, I can promise you this, knowing what I know about myself. If Michigan State wins the national championship and Ohio State wins their bowl game, I'm going to be trolling on Twitter. You know, saying that they were the best two teams in the country, and so that's kind of what I'm hoping for. I'm rooting for myself here.
Always a good guy to root for. We root for him. Steve Wiltfong, he's on top of it. Stay tuned, Bucknutters. Got a big day ahead of us.